Hi, I'm Rick Chambers, professor at .com. Today's segment is Staying Healthy, Exotic Diseases. We've got some weird diseases over in Europe, things like the bubonic plague. That's a good reason to stay home right there. Well, actually, you're far more likely to catch the bubonic plague in Malibu or in Yellowstone Park than anywhere in Europe where they haven't had any cases of that actually in centuries. In fact, apart from a few dairy-borne diseases, there's not a lot in Europe that you're more likely to get there than in our country. If, however, you're going further afield, some foreknowledge is worthwhile. The big deal that you're probably thinking about here is malaria. Indeed, this is one disease that you really can't afford not to think about if you're planning to travel to certain areas of the world. These would include places like rural Thailand and Burma, Indonesia, other areas of Southeast Asia, the Eastern Pacific Rim region, parts of Central America and South America, and of course Africa. Now, malaria is a parasite. It is spread exclusively by the bite of a certain kind of mosquito. This mosquito bites only from the early evening through the early morning and is found largely, though not exclusively, in rural areas. So generally speaking, if you're staying in a city, you're going to be safe, especially in Asia. But before you feel too confident, let's go a level deeper here. There are two broad categories of malaria, falciparum and then everything else. Now, that everything else malaria, it's serious, but it isn't immediately life-threatening. It does cause the fever and the chills and the sweat, and it's really hard to get rid of. The falciparum variety, though, on the other hand, causes death, sometimes in only 3 or 4 days. Now, you either kill it or it's going to kill you. And it's very, very common, so common in fact that if you go to certain areas of Africa, you're almost certain to be exposed to it. So what do? Well, first you find out what kind of malaria is prevalent in the areas where you're going. In India, for example, falciparum is rare. If you're going to be traveling mostly in the urban areas of India during the dry season, then in most cases, the best malaria prevention consists of just avoiding a mosquito bite. However, if you're going to be traveling in the rural areas of India, especially during the wet season, you might want to consider taking malarial medications. Now here's a key point. There is no vaccination against malaria. When traveling to malarial regions, the traveler has two defenses really: mosquito bite avoidance and then the medicinal prophylaxis. Now, bite avoidance consists of simply wearing a long-sleeve shirt and some pants and a hat and then sleeping under a mosquito netting or in an air-conditioned hotel. And then using what we call DEET-based mosquito repellent. That's available at any hunting or fishing store, even here in the States. For the medicine, you should see your doctor, though, before you go. But in general, the drug being prescribed today is called Malarone, and you need to take it once a day starting before you depart on your trip. This is in part to ensure that you are not allergic to that medicine itself, among other reasons. Now, you have to continue taking the Malarone well after you return because the parasites can actually lay their eggs in your blood, and you need that medicine to kill them when they start hatching in your blood. And here's another frightening fact that you need to know. Malaria can take up to a year, sometimes even longer, just to appear. So if you develop any severe diseases after your trip, you really do need to tell the doctor where you've been. Malaria can present itself with a whole wide range of symptoms, from the classic chills and the fever to stomach upsets, diarrhea, among other things. Remember, you can die quickly from malaria. Now, I always carry a few extra malarial pills with me, even on weekend trips for several months after a journey in a malarial region. And by the way, there is resistance to most of the malarial medication that travelers use. That's why it's a good idea not only to carry the pills that you use for prevention, but also a second pill, just in case you actually start developing the symptoms. Remember, you don't take a vaccine, you take the medicine as though you presume that you're already going to get infected. Another strategy that some travelers use is if they get sick, they start doubling the dose of the medicine that they're already taking. Now, whatever you do, know that this is some serious business we're talking about. Even the prophylactic dose that you will be prescribed to take every single day can come with some very serious side effects. Doubling up on that could be dangerous, though probably not as dangerous as the disease itself. The medicine itself used by hospitals to treat malaria, which is quinine sulfate, is considered to be a dangerous drug to hand out to travelers except those experienced with medicine. And one last point, travelers to Africa, they have a vastly greater chance of developing the falciparum malaria, which is of course the bad kind, than travelers who go to any other part of the world. So go out there, have fun, do your trip, but be prepared. I'm Rick Chambers, professor at .com. Remember, when you travel, it's better to be safe than sorry.